I was 23 and I'm thinking back on like what my expectations of jobs or work would be like at that age. And I remember seeing people when I joined, seeing Scott Hall, Jeff Riley, Cheryl Davis. And these are people that had been in this industry for decades. And they were happy, they were healthy, they were super passionate about what they were doing. And it was the exact opposite of what a 23-year-old would think decades of work should do to you, right? You know, I was expecting to see these beaten down, people that were just trying to retire. And that was totally not the case. And so in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, this could be good.
It's about people, and the people in our industry are professionals. I immediately fell in love with the level of integrity, the intelligence level, the creativity, and getting to know them and understand their story, and you becoming a part of that story, and they becoming a part of your story. That's what makes the industry great. To the point that if that element, that people side, the side of relationships that I've enjoyed for 42 years, and many of them still, in existence today, that we still work together. If that part was not part of our industry, I don't know that I would have stayed. I think I would have found something else to do. I think it is the part that makes our industry so incredible.
It's a fabulous industry, and once you're in, you can't leave. So just get ready for it.
You see people that have moved around to different, companies, done different things, but they always stay in this industry. And once you're in it, nobody ever gets out of it. It's like, and even if you try, you end up coming back to it. I've had several people that have tried to get out for a while, and then they're back because there's just something about it that is so special. And it really is it becomes a community of relationships. And I love every bit of that.
What kept me in the business were the people. This is a great industry. We're all have the same passion, and that's what's made it so interesting. And met a lot of really wonderful friends through it that are competitors, and yet we're all friendly competitors. And so, I can't ask for anything better.
I try to be a human being, not a dick. And I think that goes a long way. I always try to take the high road and never try to burn bridges, because this industry is too small for that to happen.
Relationships are critical. there's no questions about it. It's about getting to know the customer and on a more personal level. Just being yourself and being honest and telling the truth is so critical, and that's how it builds trust. And that's how you build a business, brick by brick by brick.
Relationships have played a key role in my development, my success personally, and I think really the success of the industry. It's how I've grown, it's how I've learned, but most importantly, that's where all the fun comes from. What's the point of doing all this work if you can't have a good laugh with friends along the way?
We have a saying in Norwegian that it's lysten som driver verket. If I translate that to the English, I don't know if you have that saying, but it is desire drives the work. If you enjoy what you do, it's so much easier to do that and to work on it, and you get energy from doing it.
I started Source 4 in 1981. I started it because I needed to make a living. I was getting married 6 months later. I had been working for a gentleman by the name of Jack Booker in the office furniture industry. One day he was telling me about how things were hard, how he was struggling to pay bills, and I said, well, take me off the payroll and maybe you could help me pick up a few manufacturers, vendors, and you won't have to worry about me no more. And he looked at me and he said, is that what you want? And I said, well, it's probably good for both of us. When we first got into the business, it was all about desks and chairs and that sort of thing. And over time, workstations, panel systems ended up taking up 70, 80% of the project's budget.
And it was all about the panel systems at that time, putting people in cubicles.
It was just systems furniture. panels and desks and work surfaces.
And all of a sudden, here we are back to buying furniture again. Much cooler furniture, but it is funny how things come around and we're back to selling more furniture than like we did in the 80s.
You walk into spaces and it looks like somebody's living room or the lobby of a hotel. That was not the office environment 10 or 15 years ago.
Over the years, we've watched the industry, much like every other industry, deal with challenges that they've had in, just how do we work with the introduction of better software, better interaction.
So I've always said in this industry, number one, learn AutoCAD, and number two, learn how to do manual work and sketch and draw.
When I started in the industry, obviously we didn't have any type of computer technology, CAD, Revit, any of that. So we would take our architectural drawings and spread it out on a table. Of course, those would be full-sized, construction drawings, and we do layovers, and there'd be 5 or 6 of us, and we would all work in different areas, hand drawing in desks and chairs, file cabinets, sofas, lounge areas, conference tables, and it was all done manually. And it really, there was something beautiful about it, because think about the relationship development that you have when you get those people together and you work towards something, and you really get to know them.
And now this industry is able to say, okay, I like this back, click. I like this piece of, fabric, click.
Certainly way more efficient on a computer, but it did take away some of the personal people side of things. Well, I think that's the danger that we face, since we have the computer and we got the technology, to push back on that just a little bit and make sure that we scrape out some of our time, just like you do with your personal friends, just like you do with your relationships in your own life, to invest in our industry as a whole. But it's going to continue to change, because it just always does, which is very exciting. To anyone new coming into this industry, I would encourage you to lean into the seniors, the people that have been around the block a few times, and learn everything that you possibly can.
Be humble enough to ask questions, but then the second is be confident enough to ask questions. If we keep doing the things the way we've always done them, we will never progress as an industry. So we need outside input. We need people to ask challenging questions. And so asking questions requires confidence. But then you also have to be humble enough to ask questions when you don't know what's going on.
It took me a while to recognize that, no question was a dumb question. We've got to put it all out on the table. And if we're not challenging and we're not using our voice and we're not fully leaning in, then we're not helping our companies grow. We've got to keep moving. We've got to keep pushing forward, and we got to be open to change.
You have to work harder than I think you ever have before. You can't take for granted that somebody's just going to be there or somebody's just going to show up. You have to make sure that there's connections that are made, that are deliberate.
Be consistent, be persistent.
Be a culture driver. Don't sit and wait for culture to happen, but be in the forefront and contribute to strengthen that culture. That will also take you far in this industry.
At the end of the day, we will continue to adapt, continue to evolve through different types of challenges, but it comes down to people, and it's really important that we recognize that it's about those relationships, the people that we work with. And if we do so, I'm going to be okay, and you're going to be okay. We'll all be okay if we can focus on what's important, and that is those relationships in our industry.
The future of our industry is so bright, and it's individuals like you that will continue to make it so very special.